I'm with Pasquale Di Maio and Heidi Elmore from AWS. So Pasquale, you did a keynote, so I'd love to hear about some of the highlights from the keynote and also what's new with Amazon Connect.
Yeah, we had a great keynote. Really, it's our biggest announcement since we announced Amazon Connect 8 years ago, which is we've taken everything we learned about AI, which was native in the product back then, and in a very basic form of natural language understanding to give great automated experiences. We've built so many new learnings from that to create all the way from agent assistance to bringing Gen AI to those automated experiences to the to forecasting and capacity planning for your agents, to doing post-call summaries, wrap-ups, to automating experiences while the agent's on the phone and giving them real-time feedback and helping them get through the challenges of their day-to-day much better, and removing those hard-to-do things that aren't really great for agents to do. So if I think about something like a wrap-up code or something like that, where they're not really you didn't hire them because they're great at picking wrap-up codes or writing notes. You hired them because they're great at talking to customers. We've learned so much to make that stuff super easy, or just eliminate that work from them all the time so they can focus on being great agents. We've taken all of those learnings and brought them together in one complete solution inside of Connect now that is just pay-as-you-go pricing. So you just pay per minute of voice, and you get access to 100% AI across the entire experience. You bring every contact, every step of the way, you bring that capability to bear. It's a game changer for customers. And the great thing about that is when you see that, you start thinking about your contacts that are different. Instead of saying, hey, I directionally learned this, or I think this agent might not be great at it because I saw it once. Now, every single time you have a contact, you can say, I want to escalate this one. I see a sales opportunity here. Meanwhile, the agent is just focused on solving the problem or engaging with the customer on what they care about. But meanwhile, the customer says, I was thinking about buying that. So now you can actually take action later on, or even during the call, to go help them. You can also start to bring all the data you learned about it afterwards and then analyze what calls look like or what chats look like that have much better long-term results. And then you can start comparing that. And then you move into proactive engagement, so you're actually learning about that customer, and you can actually then engage with them before they have an issue, or instead of before they have an issue, maybe you see, hey, this is an opportunity with this customer, other people like for like, and things like that. So we just want to fundamentally change the way everyone thinks about their contact center and the way they engage with customers, get out of that mindset of reactive and just trying to shrink average handle time, but instead fundamentally give the owners of the contact center the ability to change the conversation they're having with the business overall. So when they're sitting in the room and they have their seat at the table with the CEO, they're saying, here's how we should be engaging with customers differently, and this can fundamentally change the way our business works. And we're seeing customers do that in really cool ways. I love some of the work where it's simple as agents getting through calls much more easily without being distracted and alt-tabbing, so you can hear in their voice they're focused on the customer, to things like DoorDash, who actually took and has used generative AI and agentic AI to be able to actually handle 85% of their Dasher engagements this way. And the Dashers, they have a choice as to whether or not they want to do DoorDash that day or not. And if you can make that experience amazing for them, they're much more likely. So now they get instant answers to questions they have, and they learn about what they can do and how to best work with DoorDash on this stuff. And then for the questions that don't make sense to be answered that way, those can still be escalated seamlessly to a human being, and they can give great answers as well. And so as we learned from all these things, we brought those and made those just part of the Amazon Connect product now. And again, you can use all you want of it without having to pay any more. So you're no longer picking and choosing and hoping to get an ROI on AI. You're going to get an ROI on every single contact.
And I like the way you broke out things so you help the customer, you help the agent, you help the supervisor. So you laid that out very nicely. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of those capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with the customer, there are certain things where you want to have automated help. If I think about something where I just want to get a quick password reset, I don't want to wait on hold and then have someone do that. If I want to know my bank statement, I don't need an agent to have a 360-degree view of my finances. In fact, I might not be comfortable with that. Those are great things to automate. And also there are things where the question may be nuanced and maybe something that generative AI can provide a very natural and good answer for. I like to use the example of, I'm starting work next week, what's the policy on casual Friday dress? Well, that's something that agentic AI can come back and tell you something in a terrific answer on. In the middle of that, there's a bunch of stuff where the business wants it to be structured, and the customer wants it to be structured as well. And so I give the example of doing a balance transfer. I don't necessarily want that to be something that's an interactive generative AI experience. What I want it to be is incredibly observable, hyper repeatable and not have ever make an error. And I want to be able to show that that happened exactly that way and that I had the consent of the customer and offered them all the truth about this thing. I don't want any hallucinations to slip in there. And so we believe that a mix of all these experiences are going to come to play in each step of the way. So we want to use the right AI every step of the way. And this actually provides a much better customer experience. And at the end, by the time, if something does have to get to an agent, all the information we learned up front also then can flow through. I'll give you one more example of where we see some of those automated experience for customers making a better experience. Often people call in I always tell my customers, please don't start with how can I help you, because that just means give me an operator, because I know the system's not going to work. But instead, let's start by saying, hey, I see you missed your flight. Can I book you on the next one tonight? And the agent, let's say the customer says no, then maybe you say, how can I help you? And then the customer says, well, I was on the web page, I was trying to do a balance transfer, but it looked like my address was wrong, and it didn't work, and I couldn't quite figure that out, so I'm trying to do that, but I don't know. And by the end of it, they've rambled a little bit, and they don't know what the system's going to be capable of. Well, again, generative AI is really good at understanding some of those conversations, and then we can bring it back and say, sounds like you're trying to do a balance transfer, but do you want to change your address first? And so we can then put you through to a change your address structured experience or a balance transfer structured experience while still getting all that benefit of generative AI. And then if you say, well, actually, I have this other complexity here, and we say, oh, actually, that's a good one for an agent to help you with. Let's bring you to an agent, and they can know exactly what's happened there with a nice summary of everything that's happened wrapped up in a nice bow. And then with the agents, now we take this and we say, okay, well, what if we analyze every call while it's happening? And so the agent can, again, focus on the customer and the empathy and the experience that really makes a difference of having a human there, what makes human interaction magical. Well, we can give them suggestions and even step-by-step guides that remove all the alt tabs, all the cut and paste where errors get injected. And by doing that, we're able to actually then simplify that agent's experience and, again, get that focus and their time spent on the customer and solving the problem, not on the tools that are making it hard for them. And after the contact is completed and they've wrapped up, we can, they ended the conversation, have I solved all your problems? The agent has been focused on the challenges there, but we might have learned some other stuff about the customer. So we can take all that, we can categorize different aspects of that call as falling into the example of hey, maybe it was a balance transfer, but maybe also they said I was thinking about opening up a CD. So at that point we can say, hey, we make a note of that. The agent, you're not counting the agent of having a sticky note and then following up with the sales team, right? You can just automatically create a task to go do that. And also you've now learned about this that customer. Let's put that information into their customer profile so we know about it. And we can actually analyze that to see what we should be doing with those customers after that. And the agent can get right back to it because they don't have to go take notes. They don't have to go do a summary. We can summarize all that. What used to be a huge transcript now can just be a couple lines of really human readable text that anyone can see. And we can also wrap up, instead of just one wrap-up code that they hopefully guess the right one out of the long drop-down, we can say, hey, here's all the tags that should be associated with what happened on that call. And now we can learn about that and be making better decisions every time. We can predicting when a call comes in what the customer needs help with. And finally, for the supervisors, they're getting alerted to these things in real time when they really matter, and we can actually use that to make a much better experience for the supervisor who doesn't have to be sitting there hoping they happen to listen to the right call or see what the one's running long or some other magical moment. Instead of clairvoyance, they can actually just focus on going and helping the agents when it's most important. And if the supervisor, we know an action has to be taken, we can even, while listening to the call, send that note to the supervisor or send a task to the supervisor to take action while the agent's still in the call and doesn't have to break their sentence to go have that happen. So this is when I talk about all the things we've learned from AI over the last 8 years and bringing them into one cohesive package that's better than where the whole is better than the sum of the parts. And finally, the bane of everyone's existence is the evaluation. We now can automatically fill out all those evaluations for you on every single contact, so you're not guessing. And again, you're learning from it. And I don't call them agent evaluations; they're contact and customer engagement evaluations, because you're evaluating a lot more than just did the agent say the exact right words you wanted them to. That's one thing you want to make sure is true, but also you understand what the whole impact of the conversation was and be able to use all that stuff then again to improve. If you're not improving from every day in your contact center, then you're definitely leaving the most important engagements often you have with your customer on the floor. And so that's why I say we want to change fundamentally the way the people who are running their contact centers, and really not even a contact center, but really their engagement experience center, the way that's informing the entire business.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that our customers are really responding to this and our new vision, the new reality of Amazon Connect. So, we had Virgin Media, I know you attended our keynote, or Virgin Media 2, who's going to be using this next version of Amazon Connect for over 10,000 of their agents, Fujitsu, DXC, Genpact, all customers who've already seen some pretty significant outcomes from using AI and Amazon Connect, things like call deflection, average handle time, and so forth. So it's a pretty exciting time to be in CX and especially in Amazon Connect.
Okay, well, thank you.